Hello, hello. I'm Pretty Bird.
And I'm Sweet Pea.
And together we are Pretty Sweet. Welcome to Pretty Sweet Distractions, where we speak unfiltered about life, love, poetry, and prowess. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the distractions in the form of open discussions and artful words. We do have a few little rules. We're grown up people talking about grown up things, using all the grown up words. You have been warned. So if you're easily offended, this may not be your bouncing tea bag, cup of tea, or whatever floats your boat. We like to have fun, poke fun, and generally have a great time. So if you're down to be distracted, come hang out, chat, call, like, follow, share, leave your opinions and our opinions. Click all the hearts and show us some love. We have live streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. So tonight it is shut your pie hole. Everybody talks like they know what's best. Not even for themselves, it's for everybody else. So it's easy to judge others after the fact. And sometimes we have to know when to keep it to ourselves. So just shut your pie hole. So before I get into the whole rigmarole, let's say hello. Hello, Sweet Pea said hi. Raconteur, hello. How are you?
Lagging.
A little bit, but that's all right. Glad to have you with us. So here is the thing. Um, People have opinions. We are opinionated. It is part of human nature. And it's good to know what we like and what we don't like and be able to discern those things in real time every moment of every day. It is not okay for us to tell everybody what we think about their situation, especially when we're not asked. It's not okay for us to make decisions of what we think we know by disseminating or withholding information because we think we know what's best for everybody else. Because that just makes you a giant gaping anus, and it is not okay. And so tonight we're delve into poetry and conversation, all about those times where people couldn't just keep their mouth freaking shut. I'm not even talking lies or deception or anything like that. I'm talking those moments in life where somebody sees the possibility of a situation and yanks you out of there for what they think is your own good and don't then and change whatever your destiny may have been if you believe in fate or any of that stuff. Because you know,
Oh,
sometimes people suck. And sometimes we suck to ourselves. And we are really, really, really open and relentless on how horribly we talk about ourselves. At least to ourselves, it's not to everybody else. And it's no different. Talking ourselves out of things, having our friends talk us out of things for whatever reason, that none of that is okay. And on the flip side of that shit, it is also not okay to stay freaking quiet in certain situations. So it's a mess. There's no universal right or wrong for timing or gut feelings or whatever it is. And I think that our rule, as we discovered during Holy Hell Week, is do the best you can and try not to be a douche. That's all I'm saying. But we're talking about those moments. Okay, so I will give you the biggest one. And okay, there's many actually. All right, so I'm gonna give you the one that has lasted the longest and sits with me the deepest. I was 18 years old because TMI incoming. I was 18 years old. I was forced on this road trip with one of my mom's really close friends that I've known since I was 3 years old. So she's like, an aunt. And so she wanted some alone time with her boyfriend, but they had to drop her mom off in New York. Now I'm in Florida. That is straight up the East Coast. And so I was basically a babysitter for the grandma so that she could have alone time with the boyfriend. Well, he was a car dealer, and so we stopped a couple of states up. He went to an auction, had his people, have the car center, whatever it was. We stopped in the middle of nowhere, full on nothing, nothing as far as the eyes can see, except for one gas station. So we stopped at this gas station, and I was going to go inside and grab stuff, and they went inside and grabbed stuff for me. And there was this guy that worked there, about my age, And he came out and he looked at me, and I'm standing there, waist long, curly hair, just blowing in the wind, and we're looking at each other. I took one step towards him. I got shoved in the car and told, "That's not for you." And I was just like, "The hell are you talking about?" But it broke my heart in a way that does not make sense. Fast forward 20 fucking years, 25 years, and I run into this person again. And it's just you think about all the possibilities, all the different things that could have happened or could have been, or different trajectories your life takes in those moments where somebody that has nothing to do with anything says you can't even say hey to somebody that they don't like for you. And it's not even a matter of, oh, what if, or I don't like where I am now. It's none of that. It's just, it has never felt like, well, there, but for the grace of God. It's always felt like that wasn't your fucking place. You know, you're not my mother. You're not, blood relation. You are not in charge of me. Your entire responsibility of me was to, bring me home alive, you know? And I was not, I mean, I had to pee. I couldn't even go in there. It's not even about the getting of the snacks or meeting the person. I had to pee. I had to hold it. All because that's not for you. Oh, how the fuck do you know? I'm a little lit because it affected me. And I thought for years that it was just whatever, and being a creative mind, you want to write the love stories, and you want to write, all the romance, and you want to write the poetry. There was nothing in that moment. It wasn't enough to be anything. It was the possibility of everything. And not everybody feels that way. I don't care if they're hot. I don't care what the attraction is. Not everybody feels like that. Most people don't. It's a very rare thing. So it felt like something. I ached driving away from that. And come to find out that they're like, they're like, I know you. I was like, do you now? They're like, yeah, because yada yada yada, outfit I was wearing, long ass hair blown in the wind. And I was like, oh shit. And it makes you wonder what kind of things had to be in place for me to be there to begin with. And who the hell are people to block a path that needed to be nothing more than hey, you know, and let us decide for ourselves if we were going to be friends, not friends, name, no name. I mean, to the point where I had, it was like an hour to the next civilization, and I had to pee. It's fine. I'll get over it eventually. But it made me think. And just like so when I was 17, I got into a particular college, not my grad school college. That's a whole other story. Um, and I was 17, and it was upstate New York, and I was all excited, and I was told, if you go, I'm going to report you as a runaway. You are not 18, and they will drag your ass back here. I was like, what in the actual fuck? Because here's the thing. I like transparency and I like honesty. Be like, listen, hurricane damage in New Ruth. There's no more college fund. I can live with that. I don't know that that's the truth, but I can live with that honesty. That just comes with disappointment. But being dragged out of a possible future that you work towards with nothing more than because I said so, what in the actual fuck is that? People, and I get parents have a certain right because they birthed you, they made you from scratch. I understand that. But at what point then do people stop interfering in your shit? What point do they let you make your own mistakes? Me and my sister used to argue because she would come to me like 9 o'clock at night, the night before one of her kids' projects was due, and they were still in elementary school, because lots of kids, the house full of people, a lot of stuff going on, things fall by the wayside sometimes. So she'd bring them over, and I'd be like, oh, let's do the damn thing. And I would go, and it wasn't always that last minute. Sometimes this weekend before or whatnot, but I was like, whoo, I didn't have kids yet. Let's go. And I made the mistake of saying, so when are you going to start to let them fail? And I was looked at like I was hellspawn. It's like, not if I can help. It's like, well, they're not going to learn. If they need to know that if they don't do what they have to do when their teacher tells them things to do, even if it's in little bits and pieces, and they're like, well, wait till you have kids. Oh, my kids learned. I would only do so if they brought it to me early. I would help them with all the things. If they brought it to me last minute, I'm like, what are you hoping to get? Because you're still doing most of the work. And I will help you. I will, as best as I can. I will help you type the stuff up. I will not fix your grammar. You have to tell me where you want the commas because this is your work. Because apparently I'm a nasty parent, but they learned and they did the shit themselves. But I was made to be an asshole because I was like, when are you going to let them, fail? When are you going to let them learn that they're not always going to be saved? And I didn't think that I was out of line. I was the one doing all the work, you know? But I was made out to be a huge anus. And so and it's hard to discern, especially with family and close friends, because we just say all the shit and people will love us or hate us. And there's a certain appreciation in that, but if you're in that circle of people and you say something and they don't pull you aside or be like, well, I don't appreciate that, and they full on villainize you to everybody else, well, now I think you're the asshole, be like, well, that's not how I'm raising my kid, and move the fuck on. It wouldn't have been that big a deal, but oh no. So I have had my moments of I don't know when to shut the fuck up. I don't know if you all have ever listened to the show, but you will very, very quickly learn that I don't ever know when to shut the fuck up. But in a conversation that is like this, where it's open and it's all the sides and it's all the things and everybody has an opinion, there's an expectation to say all the things. But I don't expect people that did not raise me to think they have a say in how I carry myself and how I choose to behave and who I choose to hang out with and what choices I make for my future, for my family. It's nobody else's business. And if they feel like talking shit, oh, sweetie, I can out shit talk all of them, but the difference between other people and people like me is that I don't lie. I'm not going to make up shit. I'm going to reflect your shit. And then you're going to feel bad with your own truth. And I don't give a shit because you don't matter. That's just the way that works. And that doesn't make me better than anybody. It makes me just as much of an asshole, just differently. So it had me thinking, how many times you want people to just shut the fuck up? And me, I get that people want me to shut the fuck up. But the people that stay around me know I don't know how to shut the fuck up. You have to literally be like, can you please just stop talking for a minute? I'm like, I'm sorry, because I know how I am. I will not get offended. I literally don't notice when I can't stop talking. It's just, the whole family's kind of like this. It's in our blood. So sometimes it feels like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. That because I have a big mouth, people expect me to say all the things all the time. But I don't. Depending on the situation, depending on the company, depending on the amount of damage my words will do, I don't. I observe a lot more than I actually speak in real life, because people need to show their ass before I can be like, oh, look, here's your ass.
Yes, please.
OMG. And so
you couldn't see it anyway.
Well, he reads bodies in Braille. He's good. And so there is something to be said. Okay, I am honesty above all things, but I'm not brutal. And I do my best not to actively hurt people. I hurt enough people on accident. I hurt enough people with their own truth. I don't need to sit there and say things that I know are going to damage them more than what I have to say will help. So I weigh things all the time. I don't actually just fly up at the handle all the time. There are times I know who I am. It's okay. But I was thinking, how many times in life through the years, and let's just talk from 18 on at this point, where people are going to, aim you and guide you in ways they think is best for you because that's their job as family. But as an adult, it's not that we stop loving our kids ever, but it is not our job to tell them, no, I don't want you to be a tattoo artist. I want you to have a corporate job. They are who they are. If they're excellent, at what they do, more power to them because they have to live that. Yet I know people, this generation, last generation, young kids that are just like, ew, about things that people that they love want to do, are doing, how they think. I'm like, no, this is not, this has nothing to do with you. What they do for a living, what they do, with their free time, what they, whoever they become in their private time, it's not anybody else's business. But we all have opinions and we all share opinions. And what gets me the most is that 9 times out of 10, they call it love, even if it's detrimental, especially if it hurts. And then that 10th time is just a full-on entitled Karen who's just an asshole to be an asshole. But it's always, or more likely to be, under the guise of, I just want what's best for you, dear. Or, well, that's not for you. Or you deserve better. Better than what? Who are you to judge what I think is good for me? Let me learn my lessons. And this, I'm not even talking, don't do drugs, or you always wear a rubber. I'm not even talking any of that, which to me is, I would like to file under common sense, or by the time you're a young adult, you've had all the lectures, you make your own choices, right? But people have opinions that they shove down your throat, but depending on the role they think that they have in your life, they will do things behind your back, in front of your face, like you have no say in it. They will do things like, oh, well, she'll just get over it. No, I promise you, I will not. I will remember when you villainize me for not doing any gosh darn thing. I will sit there and remember from now until forever the money you did not pay me back 20 years ago. I will remember, and it affects my decisions going forward, when I did nothing and y'all made choices and then threw me under the bus to make me the villain. All right, that's fine, because it is what it is. But it changes how I see you. It doesn't change if I love you or not. I mean, if I love you, I love you. But it changes how I trust you. It changes what I share with you. It changes things. And people are like, oh, well, she'll just get over it, because I don't be like, oh, well, I'm going to hold this over your head forever, because I don't do that. I just hoard it quietly. And then when I have information to share, or I have news to share, or if there, I will pull it out and see just how much I am willing to share with people. Because once you break down the outer shell of full acceptance with assiness, you don't get full access anymore. And it's not that it can't be earned back. It's just that it takes decades. And it may never happen. And again, it's not that I love you less, I just trust you less. And that's a problem, because I don't tell people that. I don't tell anybody, oh, by the way, if you fuck me a little bit, I will remember that forever. I don't say, well, because this falls in this category and that falls in that category, this one weighs more, so now I'm not going to share my business with you. It just is what it is. Nobody needs to explain the inner workings of how they choose to feel about a situation. That's a very personal thing. It's not anybody's business. You're going to feel how you feel. You don't owe anybody an explanation. And on the flip side of that, and they don't owe you the time it takes to listen to you wanting to give it, which sucks. Well, let me explain this to you. It doesn't matter. You said no is no. I'm good. Don't make it a thing, which I'm okay with. But most people are like, yeah, but I don't care the why. You said no. I've got more important things to do. It's all right. But because you said no, I won't ask you again. And because you said no to me, don't count on me saying yes to you for anything big. We're going to have to work up with that with little things. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm the asshole. And it's not that things are transactional, but I guard my trust. And I will milk those wounds until they are fully healed. And if they don't, they don't. And I don't,
Oh,
you know what I mean? I might have gone a little sideways. It's all right. I tend to do that. So you'll get used to it. So, Sweet Pea,
yes.
when we came up with Shut Your Pie Hole, what did that inspire in you? Where did that take you?
Pretty much the exact same place it took you. The intention of great advice. Um, because there's really not a lot of malice in it, but I also think a lot of the advice that I've gotten in my life has always tended to benefit the person giving me the advice. Um, I mean, my advice, the worst advice I got, or the this is best for you advice, happened at 17 when my mother walked into my high school in the middle of the day, told me, let's go to your locker, take everything out of that locker, and you're going to get married. And I obediently did so because what else? My choice was get married or get out of her house, because it was best for me to marry the man she thought took my virginity. And I walked down the aisle and was married for 18 years. Um, it's just that's the way it was at that point in time. And, because that's what was best for me. Going to college, doing all that was, that was a shot in the dark where I could marry somebody who was in the military, had a steady job. That was a solid life for a girl. And so that was, the best intentions. And then I ended up having a very premature child, um, like 10 months later, yeah, it was almost 11 months later. Got married in January. He was born in November, and he was almost 2 months early. And the plethora of advice I got from people was absolutely amazing because I was only 17 and I was too young to be a mother, but not too young to be a wife, and especially too young for a sick child. But let me tell you, no one knew how to take care of that baby more than I did. And it was just so much of you better do this and you better do that and you should do this and you should do that and you should let somebody else handle this and you should let no screw y'all, my kid, my way, I will handle him. I didn't really care for all the motherly advice from so many people, half of them I didn't know, that were going to tell me because of my age that I could not do what I needed to do with my own children. Now, I unfortunately, because 18, my kids were only 13 months apart, so I had another baby, and they felt again I needed a plethora of advice to help raise my children. And because I was seemed to always be the youngest person in a classroom with children, and because let's face it, I always was most of the time, I had a lot of PTA moms and all that like to, well, your child probably shouldn't eat that much sugar or eat that much junk food or do
That
this or
is
do
not
that.
an age thing. That is a first time mom thing, and that is everybody thinks they're better than you thing. That happened to me, and I didn't have my first kid till I was 26.
Okay, well, from my perspective, because I was so young, I felt that way. I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear it
absolutely.
wasn't that way because it was just like young lady and young this, and I just wanted to,
Yeah, I
first
got a
of all,
lot of that. Oh, are you sure you want to hold him like that? Yeah, is that how I'm holding him? Okay, thanks.
yeah, it was so frustrating because it was like, oh, he's so tiny, and shut the hell up, just go away. You don't know, you know nothing. and I really wanted to kick people. And I wasn't pleasant all the time. And,
Which I'm
I,
Yeah.
sure they turned into, you don't have the right temperament for motherhood.
yeah, I got that told more than once. Like, oh, he
Well,
can
it's a
pick
good
up
thing
on
I
your
ain't your mother then.
anger. Really, he can pick up on your stupidity.
Seriously.
Um, um, so there are those moments that I go back on and think, well, he's pretty well grown and smart, and it's just that constant advice where they want to tell you how to raise your child. And I just don't understand that. You know, take care of your house. I don't need a village to raise my child. I, you know, I'll keep my house in order, you keep your house in order, and pretty much the village will be fantastic. Don't let them all run around like wild people, and
Yeah,
everybody
that's
keep their
that's
house
like
in order, and we'll
normal
have a
advice. That's
village.
like everybody, every extended family member has something to say about the parenting of the mom, parenting of the dad, all of that. But
Oh,
that's different than I mean, it fits into the shut your pie hole just fine. But but it's those moments to me that, like when you were given that ultimatum, that neither one of those options suited you, but you had to pick the lesser of two evils.
right.
And it's like there are so many times in life, whether it's a boss, a coworker, a friend, where they sit there and they do something and you sit there, you're like, what in the actual fuck? And it's it's always those moments for me that what you know, but then they're all like, but that's not what I meant. No, sweetie, that's what you said. It is what it is, you know? Um, but it's those ones that it's, well, I never said that. Yeah, but that's what you meant. That get me. Because when you know, but then they want to play innocent. I'm like, well, okay, well, this is the way this is going to be. I don't, this is why you're not invited over my house anymore. You can kiss my ass. But all right then.
And I know people make mistakes when they say things. I mean, I've said things out of context, or out of anger, or things like that. I mean, people are obviously going to say stupid things. People are always,
That's different because
right,
you know when
right.
there's malice aforethought, it is what it is. When people say things that they know are going to dig in some way and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry you took it that way. You can kiss my ass." I'm just, and
Right,
that's a whole other show, so we're not delving into that one. But
right.
Rack and Tour, what are your thoughts on Shut Your Pie Hole? Are you with us?
Mm.
There you are. So, what are your thoughts on Shut Your Pie Hole?
See, the flip side of what you're saying, tell me, um, person being told to shut their pie hole as opposed to telling someone to shut their pie hole. So I'm the one that's on the receiving end of it. I'm the one with the good intentions. I'm the one that just opens his mouth without thinking, and you know, just you know.
Oh, we lost you again. Okay, so you're fading in and out. So I'm gonna respond to that because there is a problem with fixers and non-fixers, and I'm not trying to be sexist, but a lot of guys like to be able to fix things where girls just don't need anything fixed unless we ask for it, you know? So I get extremely offended. Me personally, I get extremely offended if I'm like, oh, the day I've had, and somebody looks at me and says, well, why didn't you just go to your boss? Or why didn't you call HR? Or why didn't you just ask them about it? Or why didn't
Yeah,
you let it fester? But shut the fuck up, you know, because it's not your business. I didn't ask for your help. I asked you to listen to me for a hot minute so I can make enough room in my head so I can make my own decisions. But sometimes you get frustrated and you're like, grr, and you don't want to act on the grr, so you need to grr out loud. That's not asking for help. That's just sit with me in this shit for a hot minute until I can go, okay, now we're good. And I can make my own decision. But I'm glad to see your back, Rack. But, I understand that a lot
yeah.
of especially think that they're being helpful, think that they are providing a service, think that they are sitting there going, but look, I fixed. No, no, no. You basically called me stupid and emotional, and fuck you. And because we want, because it looks different, and those are the kinds of. I mean, am I wrong? Rack, you're the only one with testicles here.
I mean, well, I mean,
Because
to
me,
me, it's
so
very
that's what you
circumstantial because there, there are times when you think you're being helpful and you're not, but there are also times when the other person is too close to the situation to see beyond something, and it's just spitballing here, but did you try? Because a lot of
oh,
times
but
there
did
are
they
reasons
ask
why
you
they
to
didn't
help?
try, and they're the only ones. Yeah, that's also how it was worded, or again, circumstantial. So it's just that's the question. The way you posed it was what did I think, and right away, I just feel like I'm always the one that's being told to shut up. So it's people who are opinionated, such as yourself,
This is
that
true.
they're the ones that are going to hear it. That they're the ones that are going to hear it more than anyone. And a lot of times, the people that value their opinion most, appreciate it. But there are people that are going to be like, why doesn't she just shut up? She thinks she knows everything. And meanwhile, again, it's totally circumstantial. There are times when you may sound like a know-it-all. Well, maybe it's because you do know everything that they're talking about as far as the situation goes. So
It
you're
has
best
taken me a
qualified to
long
be the one
time,
to flap your gums, and you
but
maybe.
unsolicited is the problem.
But the other thing too is yes and no. I again. I like the idea of it's not that you're volunteering to help or anything. It's more um,
You're in and out again. Okay, it's more what?
an unbiased evaluation of a situation.
If nobody asks you to evaluate the
An
situation, you're wrong.
unbiased evaluation of a situation where
Yeah,
it's
that's
people
that's
who it
here's the
affects.
problem. If so, okay, let's just take me. If I call you up and I don't say I'm venting and I say some shit and you try to offer me advice, I'm going to stop you. And I'm going to be like, just let me vent. I'm good. I will shoot all the options at you at the end, you know? If I need help sussing that out. Most people don't do that. And the ones that find it hard to be ungracious, which is kind of what I am, when people offer help without being asked are the ones that sit with it and be like, well, maybe they just think I'm stupid. Maybe they think I'm helpless. Maybe they think I'm weak. Maybe they think I'm all these things. And it eats away at who they think they are. And they will never tell you. And it's, I have a very masculine personality. If we're going personality types, I am bold. I am brazen. I give all the shits and no shits at the same time.
Right.
But I learned, and I still fail, by the way, because I'm highly imperfect. But I learned that I need to ask if you're looking for a shoulder of solutions. Now I fail miserably with a family member who came at me with I'm slightly in crisis. I'm trying to thwart this, and then the conversation moved on to something that I thought was a lot more separated from that, and I was who I was. It was not quite okay, and that is on me for not asking what the expectation was. But you can't do that all the time, you know. Go ahead, Rack.
See, to me, it's just a conversation. It's just words.
No,
So they may be upset at why you're saying it, but the fact that you said it is that they're free to ignore it. They're free to do what they want
no.
with it. So but by
That's
just saying it
if
and
they are
offering it,
coming at you
you
upset. If they are coming at you venting, upset, elevated in any kind of way, and the first thing you do is like it's try to fix it for them, that's not at all helpful. It will never be helpful. It's 100% not helpful. It is
but
insulting.
it
Even if it comes from a good
but when you
place, it's
say it, you're
insulting.
not necessarily intending to
It's
fix it.
right,
It
but you are. So here's the thing. If I say, "Ugh, I can't get my mind out of this situation and it's making me hate myself because I want to punch somebody in the throat," and you're like, "Well, have you tried screaming into a pillow? Have you tried this? Have you tried that?" That is not helpful. It comes from a good place, and hopefully people understand that, but it is not helpful. Something that I would find more helpful, and I get other people are different. I am not one that goes to other people for help. I go to people for an ear to vent, and then I try to fix my own shit. And if I am conflicted about something, I will be like, I'm having this dilemma, and I don't expect anybody to fix it for me. And if I don't ask for opinions on what to do, I don't expect them and I don't want them, because
but
people overstep and then they don't understand why it gets out of hand, because everybody
but
wants to help.
circumstances are personal and individual, though. What's right for me might not be right for you.
This is
So
true.
so again, so again, open dialogue. The
Open
conversation
dialogue
being,
doesn't go to fixing the problem before you ask them if they want you to fix the problem.
but just because I'm saying that this is my idea of a solution, that doesn't mean that you're going to accept it either.
Right. It has nothing to do with
It's a
accepting it.
presumption
It has nothing to do with taking the advice or not taking the
that that's
advice.
not necessarily being made when the person says what they're saying.
Okay.
It's an excited utterance,
So
though.
the way I see it is
It's a
this.
knee-jerk response to a situation.
It's out of line. And it's out of line. If somebody, I don't care if it's a guy or girl, actually, if somebody comes up to you and they're really, 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 really upset, it's one thing to be like, do you need me to beat somebody up? Do I need to grab my shovel? What are we doing? Because then either they'll laugh or they'll be like, no, I don't need all that. I'm good. I'm just going through my thing. That's different because that's kind of way out in left field, but it will let them know that you're there willing to help if they want the help. But if they're just there to vent, if they're just there to get it off their chest, if they're there to suss it out, because some of us have to sit there and think out loud, then anything that goes into that and takes it sideways is no longer about them. Anything that goes into that with solutions that they're still venting about it and they haven't asked for solutions, it is insulting. It 100% of the time, every time since I was a little kid, it makes me think that they think I'm stupid, that they think I'm inept, that they think that I can't come up with my own solutions. It's different if I'm like, listen, I've got 3 ways to go here. I could blow it all up. I could suck it up and give them a chance to explain, or I can ignore the whole thing and walk away. You know that which and if I'm asking for help with what I whittled it down thing, that's one thing. Or if I'm like, listen, I'm in some shit. What would you do? That's different. Say all the things all the time. But if somebody's coming to me upset, like full on, I'm venting about all the things, it is not up to me to be like, well, why didn't you do this? Because it will 100% come off like, it's an easy thing to say because you're not in it, and I don't need to explain my emotions more than I am. And maybe it's just me. Sweet Pea, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts if you're upset and somebody's all like, well, why don't you do this and why don't you do that, without letting you get to asking for the help? How does that feel?
I think it depends on the person saying it, to be honest with you. I've had people that are very blunt and in your face, like, this is what I think you should do, and this is how you should do it. And, they make you feel like you're incapable of doing anything, like what you just said. And that
Okay, but
drives you
it's
insane.
not about the advice. It's about when it is given. It's not about how they deliver the advice. We're going to assume that they mean well, that there's no malice there. But if you are upset, if you are crying, if you haven't had a chance to vent it all out, if you're saying all the things and they don't at least be like, I'm going to say a thing, if they don't give you pause to accept or deny wanting to hear the thing, and they just tell you, well, I think you're an idiot, or they don't say that, but they're like, well, I would have this and you should have that. Does
That's
that
not acceptable.
right? 100% of the time, it's not okay. Because
Correct.
when you're talking to somebody who's elevated, they're not going to come to the you're being nice and helpful conclusion until they are calm. If they're already elevated, it's going to seem aggressive. It's going to seem like an insult, and they're going to shut down and they're not going to tell you anything else. And it's just kind of the way emotions are. If you come to be helpful to somebody at high emotions, when they are not first calmed down a little bit, it's never going to land as help. It's going to land as, well, he thinks I'm helpless. And I don't know that most people are aware of that, because 90% of the people that do that, me included, mean well. They're not trying to be malicious, and the ones that are trying to be malicious, oh, it lands hard, you know? So I feel bad because nobody ever sits there and teaches their kids while having emotional breakdowns at 15, 16, 14 years old, how to have an emotional conversation without getting elevated, you know? And nowadays, with a couple of generations after us, that they're all, oh, I understand you're having big feelings. You can have your big feelings. Let's take a deep breath. And that's why I was never that parent. I really wasn't. My parenting was this: sweetie, I would love to help you, but I can't understand you when you're crying. So take a minute, cry as long as you have to. But if you want me to help you, if you want to tell me what's going on, you're gonna have to stop crying so I can understand your words. And I talk to them like little kids, like little grown-ups, because I'm the asshole, but it worked. But I'm hoping that through all of their shit, at some point, they know that when somebody is elevated, either be there to help calm them down or approach them when they're already calm before you give them anything, because then they're not going to listen to you. And then my whole entire family, if you don't listen to their advice, gets really just butthurt and offended. So that's a lose-lose situation right there, because everybody's an asshole. And I know you, Rack. You are wonderfully helpful, wonderfully kind, and wonderfully generous. And I hate that I know that it doesn't land well a majority of the time, because I don't know you to be intentionally malicious ever. I mean, you've had your fuck me, fuck you moments, but haven't we all? But generally speaking, that's not who you are. You literally are outside of the thing. You see, and a lot of people are. You see what looks like a clear, whatchamacallit, a clear line, a clear means to an end, but it's never that clear. It's never as simple as that. And even if there's nothing to be done and somebody needs to get it out, friends, family, if there's any sense of care there, the only option that I see is let them get it out. You can ask them, leading questions, so to get a bigger picture, it's for clarity. But until they are calm, or until you're like, okay, listen, I'm a little confused. Are you looking for solutions or help? Or am I just am I just being your rock? Because I can rock all day, That way you know what to expect. And we don't ever have these conversations. It's like it's ingrained in society that somebody's talking that you care about, listen, let's just get through the end of this together and move on to the next thing. And it's just not really like that in emotional conversation. It's never straight. And sometimes we can't guess what they want, because while emotional conversations run different for men and women, men also are more likely to appreciate a straight line solution, straight line options. Have you tried this? What about this? Okay, cool. And then that's done, because you guys don't linger as much openly as women do.
I'm going to be pedantic and you said what they want, but what they want might be different from what they need, and sometimes they need to hear something that they may not be ready to hear.
No, that's different, because you don't tell them what they need to hear when they're having a breakdown. You wait until the end of that shit, and then you tell them, listen, you're being an idiot. You did it to yourself. That's fine. But in
But
the middle of the emotion, that's not okay. That's
you
just breaking them down. Go ahead, sweet.
you have to let the entire emotional event happen before you say anything. Otherwise, if you're with me, you're going to get a whole lot of that emotion thrown at you, because you're going to become part of the emotional breakdown. If you want to, tell me how to do something or what to do, or, you know, I mean, that's just going to end up happening, and it's not going to be pleasant, usually, for the person trying to tell me what to do. If,
And it's unfortunate.
yeah, because the person usually is somebody I would count on and stuff. When I'm calm, I'm more likely to listen to their advice or listen to what they have to say after I've spilled everything I need to spill. But if you're trying to do it during that heightened emotional state, I'm not going to listen to you anyway. So you're wasting your breath.
And that's the whole
So,
point. The person who's in the emotional turmoil has to calm down before they can listen. And we are just like, but there's a fix. Wait, there's a fix, there's a fix, there's a fix. And now listen, I have been known to be like, okay, hold on a second. I think I'm getting something wrong because this is what it sounds like to me. And then I'm like, okay, can I say a thing? Just let me know when I can say a thing because I have a thing to say. And people will be like, well, give me a minute. I'm not done. I'm like, all right, here I am. Remind me I have to say a thing. And then I'll say the stuff. And it's not about having to walk on eggshells when they are in a commerce, they'll still be emotional, but once that arc is closer to the end and they're willing to accept it, tell them all the shit they need to hear. Be like, listen, you're the idiot, or listen, well, they are who they are, whatever it is that sucks. You don't have to sugarcoat all the things if that's not who you are. You just have to wait for that tidal wave to start to subside, because that's what respect looks like. That's what respecting other people's emotions looks like when you're in it. And I get that I am steeped in hypocrisy because I tend to be like, ooh, I know who I am. But it's
Make them again.
no, there's no way that it's not rude on some level to dismiss that arc of emotion because you know better. It's dismissive, even if the intention
Wait, it's
is
not
not
about
that.
knowing better. It's your relationship with the person. It's not about
How's
the
that worked out for you?
intention. If your husband comes to you and says something, and when you're emotional, it hits differently than if your next door neighbor comes across you and says the same shit. It's different because they know you. It's different because
Yeah, they should know better. Neighbors don't know you that way, so you can be like, well, they're just an asshole. But when your husband, your wife, your best friend comes to you and says some stupid shit, dismisses you, and does other stuff, oh, it hits and it lands, and then you definitely feel like they don't give a shit about you, and it's worse. So it's not better. It doesn't
but
lighten anything.
but
The thing, if
you
they
feel
are
like that,
in
but
an
you get
emotional
over it.
state,
No,
not
see,
always. I promise you, not always. It
but
lingers. My
some
husband said
people
something to me
are,
22
are
years ago.
emotional to their own detriment.
This is true, but that's not your job to fix. It's who they are.
Is this the?
Is this what?
Yeah.
You were going to say it. Say it.
I don't know. The thought got derailed. No, the
So
thought got
here's the
derailed.
thing.
I
That's fine.
don't know where I was going.
That's fine. So here's the thing. My husband said something to me 22 years ago that I will never forget for the rest of my life. And every time I remember it, it breaks my heart. So it does not ever go away. We just have to hold on to the good things, especially if they didn't mean it the way they said it. And that is different for everybody, but it hits the way it hits and it lingers the way it
Yes,
lingers despite all of that. So you can't erase it. So why put yourself in that
unfortunately.
position? You know? And then for some people, that's going to follow every fight for the rest of that relationship. Because that in the heat of the moment, That's what honesty looks like. And even if somebody said it to hurt you and it's not honest, what does that say about you? What does that say about somebody who says the meanest thing possible in the middle of an emotional conversation just because they know it's going to hurt? That makes you an asshole. You can't get rid of that shit. And now moving forward 10, 15 years, if you're going to get in this heated argument about something completely different, you know they play dirty. And so is it honest and that's what they think of you, or are they just mean? And in either case, that is not okay. So it doesn't go away. And forgiveness happens, yes. But in those moments when we hate ourselves, in those moments where we know how to beat ourselves up, in those moments where we pick all the scabs and bleed out all our old shit because we're human and it happens, it comes back and it's brand new. And we have to fight it back again to everybody we know that has done this to us. And then we're like, well, people have done this to us. What the hell have I done to people? And that's a whole other fucking rabbit hole. Because it's not done on purpose, usually. That's where I have a problem with the being mean on purpose. I can't. I would walk away in a heartbeat because I can't be in that situation. The amount of stress is too much. I mean, if I listen, my mean looks like their reflection of truth, and if they don't like it, that's on them. You know? But when people are mean,
let me phrase it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in an emotional state and you're having a moment, you wouldn't concede that there are times when you need to be derailed for a minute and brought back to listen, you're being emotional and somewhat irrational.
No.
You need to step away for a minute. You need to,
if I'm emotional and somebody says, look,
I'm not
you're being
saying
emotional,
people aren't entitled to their emotions.
But you said, look, you're being emotional. I'm like, duh. That's not something that's like telling an angry woman to calm down. But I understand what you're saying. It's one thing to be like, okay, so we're not getting anywhere in this heightened state. Maybe we can go grab some food and revisit. That's different, you know. I'll tell you this: my mom died. And 2 months later is when I actually had the emotions. And I walked in at 2:00 in the morning, hysterical, full boohoo, full body, full sob, full can't catch my breath crying. And it's the only time in the decades I have been married that he didn't try to help. He just held me because what could he do? And it was the most supported I have ever felt in my life. He let me hold on to him until I let go. And it was the best thing he ever did to me. He didn't say a word. He just let me have my feelings. And then when I was calm enough, he's like, tell me what I can do. And I was like, she's in my closet. What? There's nothing to do. He's like, can I bring you water? Yes, please. And that is the extent of it. And it was the most supported I have ever been. If I, in that, even at calm, he's like, well, she's been dead 2 months, or crack jokes, or maybe we can watch a movie, or let's go eat. I would have felt completely dismissed. And then I wouldn't have been able to have those feelings or ever talk about my mother around him again, because I would take that to mean he didn't want to hear it and it wasn't important. And if that wasn't important to him, then I wasn't important. And that would have been a big deal. And that would have been detrimental over time.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need to feel what they feel and then have the conversation, because the conversation obviously still needs to happen at some point. I'm not poo-pooing the conversation. It's just a matter of timing. And it's already 11 o'clock. So we're going to do announcements, and then we're finally getting to get to some poetry, because apparently I have opinions. I mean, damn, told you I could talk. I am loving the conversation, and I'm not, just so that you know, I am not poo-pooing who you are at all. I'm just talking because I love you. Okay.
I know.
So Sweet Pea, are you? I'm glad. So Sweet Pea, are you ready for announcements?
I am ready. Coming up on Thursday, we have Who Ya Callin' Old. We are going to talk about some of the stereotypes about aging and make fun of them and knock them out of the park. Because age is more than a number; it's a mindset. Some
This
people
is
re-
true.
some people
Sorry.
just refuse to fade out, slow down, or play the role. And by the way, old isn't synonymous with irrelevant. So we're gonna
And
have fun
this
with that one on
is
Thursday night.
true. Yes, ma'am. And then next Tuesday, it is no is a complete sentence. Though it may not always be the kindest option, no means no. It doesn't mean ask later or ask again in a different way. If you ask me if I want something from the store and I say no, let it stand. If you ask me if you look fat and I say no, let it stand. While there may be an exception to every rule, no is a complete sentence. And that is next Tuesday.
And the following Thursday, which is June 18th, let's grab some popcorn and watch people. It's people watching. We can't always avoid the crowds or overhearing intimate conversations, especially when people put up their cell phones so loud. There's no expectation of privacy in public after all. Sometimes creating backstories turn these moments with strangers into living poetry, tickling our funny bones, breaking our hearts, just pissing us off. Some of us keep our eyes low and can't be bothered. Others, however, elevate people watching into an art form. So that's going to be Thursday, June 18th, and I
I
can't
got
wait.
stories.
There
So,
you go.
yes. Some of the conversations I've overheard too. That it should be a fun night.
Well, hopefully they're all fun nights. So
Yes.
I've got a poem on the board. Might as well get to why we're here. It's only an hour in. It's fine. So this is Them's Fighting Words by me, Pretty Word. And it goes like this. If words weren't weapons or skin deflected forked tongues, we could all claim superhero status just for existing, which is hard enough in this fallible skin with fallible thoughts and a mind skewed by imperfect emotions, except pain. Pain is always perfect. Its purity never changes despite the cause or type or duration. It always hurts. Irrational and moody, perception hangs in the wind, trying to balance memories with reflections, and deflection is just well dressed denial and roles no one ever asked to play. Honesty is my superpower, an epic defense mechanism, a safe harbor for feeling too much. Guarded or defenses down, too open hurts both hunter and prey. Nothing like taking damage, and damned if you do, damned if you don't, life lessons and crash courses of minimal sustainability. But I take comfort in the pain. Waking behind those who go blind, staring at the sun and stars or any light that enlightens a path, it never lets me down. But you did. If words weren't weapons in the mouths of those frightened by difference, life would come in hues of flavor that didn't melt away in the dark, cradled on tongues dancing in the rain with no consideration for shelter, because wet is just a state of being and dry is often overrated. So broken armor yesterdays, crack force fields, and break trust. But if words weren't weapons, maybe we'd heal.
Hmm.
End poem.
If words weren't weapons, maybe we'd heal. One thing that you always say, and I just totally agree with, is that it's the one emotion that never changes. It feels exactly like it's supposed to feel. Love goes up and down, happiness changes in various degrees. But pain, it's solid. It's your best friend. You can cuddle up with it, and it's everything that it's supposed to be. And this is just a plethora of reasons why irrational and moody, perception win, deflection is well dressed denial. I mean, but honesty, that's your weapon. I just really like some of the great lines in here. Um, It never lets me down, but you did. And that great phrase, if words weren't weapons, in the mouths of those frightened by difference. And where's the other one? But broken armor yesterday's crushed fields and break trust. Damn. It's just so true. And again, I just keep going back. If words weren't weapons, maybe we'd heal, because words are so powerful. And this whole sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me is such a phallus. It just is the opposite of the truth, because words are
Fallacy. A phallus is a lie.
Fallacy.
fallacy. Sorry, I was. You guys know where my mind is now. Fallacy. Sorry.
I mean,
Finish
my
that
mind
word.
it says has it's fallacies all the time.
Yes. Well, sorry, my mind is somewhere else. Fallacy. Well, it could be the other thing too, shoved the right way. Um, anyway, but it just is. It just doesn't make any sense to me, because I think words are can be either the most charming thing, the most painful thing, and they go everywhere. It's just, they break you, they make you, they love you, they hate you. It's just so true. And the end of that poem just is one of the most truthful phrases I've heard. So, Raconteur, your thoughts.
Oh, I love how you tie honesty and pain together. And honesty doesn't have to be painful, but between pain and emotions is empirical, especially in the ways that you present it. So I always appreciate when you go off on things like that, and in the back of my mind is always, words, aren't to be, aren't what the problem is. It's the use of them. Where words are innocent. I think that's the expression that I'm thinking of. That turn of phrase, that idea that you can. It's not the word that's at fault. It's the way people use it. So you bring all that to the forefront, and you tie it up in a neat little bow.
I have a proclivity for bows. I'm
Oh,
just saying.
so
It's funny.
yeah.
It's I hurt people accidentally all the time. It's just in my nature, or in the fact that I can be curt and people take it as anger, and it's just matter of fact, and all of these things, just the way I am, sometimes rubs people wrong, and I understand that about my nature. I get it, so I do my best not to do it on purpose. But there are so many people who are just spiteful, who just say things okay, like the ones that so I have a lot of friends that I
You
talk
sure you want to
to,
wear that?
yeah, though, that I talk to sporadically, right? That to me, they're family, and if I don't talk to them in 6 months, we pick up the phone and we're good. You know what I mean? And then I have some that are like, well, I haven't heard from you in 5 days. It's nice to see that you're still alive since I saw you, whatever, on Facebook. But shut the fuck up. I'm like, why is it me that now has to kind of be bullied into a conversation instead of somebody just picking up the phone, or texting somebody, or doing, or what? Why does it have to be drama? You know what I mean? Because I don't do that. Now, I have done it after whatever, tit for tat, because treat people how you want to be treated. That's obviously how they wanted to be treated. No, 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 they didn't, because nobody actually likes to be treated the way they treat people when that's the way they are, you know. But people like to be all butt hurt, yet not come out and say, "Oh, well, I didn't. I just meant whatever." And there was somebody they'll probably be told off about. But there was somebody just a couple of days ago. I don't remember what they said. I was talking to them and they said something and it stopped me cold. And I said, hold on a second. I was like, I'm hoping you didn't mean that as rude as I took it, because that was kind of mean. And they're like, no, I meant it like this. I was like, okay, because that's not even a little bit how that felt to me. And then we moved on. Now I'm going to take them at their word, because I'm not going to sit there and linger in the ugly, because I'd rather take them at their word. But it's what was said, and it felt how it felt. And so I still had to sit with that, you know? And even 6 months, a year ago, I would have let it sit without taking pause and letting them explain. and been like, what in the actual fuck? And that's how we get screwed up, because sometimes our trauma and their trauma don't play well together. We trigger each other's defenses, and then we have conversations that are reactionary without any substance. And then people don't talk to each other, and nobody actually ever did anything. And it's ridiculous. So I'm a big proponent on clarification and conversation. And I don't ever see a reason to be spiteful and mean, because it happens accidentally enough that we don't need to bring it on ourselves. But that's just me. I'm just saying. But I have Raconteur on the board, and he does have audio. So let me know when you have him up, Sweet. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
That is awesome. Here we go.
Who Cares by Raconteur. My heart has been wounded, no solace in sight, no arms offer comfort, nor ears hear my plight. No eyes see my discomfort, no heart touched by my pain. Profoundly alone, steadily going insane. Lips mouthing voices, ears hearing whispers and screams. Or is that the sound of shattered dreams? Lungs struggle to breathe, mind barely aware. If I died tomorrow, would anyone really care? End poem.
And that's the difference of the, but that's different than the conversations, because I glitch in real time. Than the conversations we were having before, where there's all of this conversation to lay out on people. And this is the opposite of that, which breaks me, because it's one thing to complain about the people don't know how to listen to me. It's another thing that there's nobody there to listen in the first place. And it adds a level of profundity to the entire night to take that perspective. No eyes see my discomfort, no heart touched by my pain, profoundly alone, steadily going insane. And that's true, because you become your own sounding board, and then we're talking to ourselves, and next thing you know, you've got a cart, 6 bags, and a dead bird in a hat. I mean, sometimes it happens, but when you've got people and you can't, and everybody is busy, and you feel, this might just be me. Okay. But so, because all I know is me. So when you've got people and everybody's busy and you don't want to burden them with your shit, I tend to self-isolate, but it's exactly this, because nobody notices. I've got, a house full of people. You go through days and years, decades and decades doing all the things, because you still have to do what needs doing. And nobody notices. And I'm sitting there going, what kind of an asshole do these people think that I am? That I am not my sometimes slightly, probably not effervescent self. And then I'm like, oh, maybe it's just me. And maybe I'm just not important, and I can't really burden them, because if they don't notice, then I'm like, well, pick me. And I don't want to be that, because it's not important to them. I don't want to make it seem like it's such a big deal, like I need all the attention and all of this stuff. So you find yourself in this place. And before you know it, all the friends that kept on checking in on you, that kept on texting you, that kept on calling you, every couple of days, once a week, once a month, once every couple of months, and now they're all gone, because they can only try so much. They can only be ignored so much, and sometimes we do it to ourselves, and we find ourselves in this place. And sometimes life happens, and there are certain times of life where it happens en masse, like a mass exodus of people in your orbit, like after high school, when half of everybody goes off to college, or after college and everybody is going to their jobs all over the globe, or especially if you're one of the ones that doesn't, and you stay in town regardless of if you have a great job. There's an emptiness that is really hard to fill. And by the time you want to actually invest in people, sometimes they're hard to find. Sometimes it's not easy. lungs struggle to breathe, mind barely aware. If I died tomorrow, would anyone yes, I will send wellness checks to your house until I find out whether you're dead or alive, so rest assured. But yeah, that feeling, it lingers. That heaviness lingers. And then if you're anything like me, which I think you might be, you're like, well, outside of these two people, the rest of the world wouldn't notice. And if these two people were mad at me, how long would it take for them to notice? And because I can sit there and rabbit hole myself into a deep depression. I am just saying. So, Sweet Pea, what are your thoughts?
I really, this poem is one that hits me hard, and I every time I read it, I get very upset. And then this time around, I went, I'm going to read some of these comments because I know how upset I get. And then I'm reading through these comments, and I know that there are a lot of people that would care. You've got people sending you things. I don't know if you ever had your orgy with Wayne. So if Wayne's going to send you prostitutes, I'm going to send you covered bacon. Pretty Bird's got you covered on all kinds of things. She's sending paramedics to your house if you've got
I got
bacon.
my hat.
Yeah, if you've got prostitutes and Wayne having an orgy, she's going to need to have paramedics there. So yeah, I'm just going to say this one is so well written, and it just tugs at everything. And the comments are even better. So there's a whole lot of people that care, and so yeah, who cares? Oh, people willing to have orgies with you. So there you go. Yeah, this is a well written and very much a one that you just kind of want to run to your home and give you big old bear hugs for. So you really got me on this one every time.
BARE.
Every single time it guts. However you want them. Just saying. Oh my goodness, that's
OMG, you're on the board, Sweet.
okay. And in the middle of this, I was just forced to switch to the new format. So, wasn't that fun?
No, it's ass.
It said, sign in again, sign in again. I'm like, no. So this is the Silent Void. Funny, I never realized how loud silence could sound. When I chose to stop screaming and listen, the wind uttered not a whisper in her songs. I thought I would fear everything here in the void. Too late, I've already been beaten and destroyed. Enveloped in the darkness, I feel chains of joy. I seek no empathy. My inconsistency aligns with my internal grief. Explanations I cannot express. Pain is beyond my weakness. Yours is greater. I'm sure you will attest to mine as excuses. Mirrors lie. I see through the mask I painted on this morning before I left. No one sees the truth but me, the faded flesh on rotting bone that holds the key to the skeletons in my closet. I'll keep myself locked away now that there's nothing left to say. No more banter, no more words, no more promises to be heard. An embryo in a silent void, waiting for someone to understand. And peace.
My inconsistency aligns with my internal grief, and therein lies the rub, because human nature is kind of hypocritical, because feelings ebb and flow, and it's not that opinions necessarily ebb and flow, but sometimes it matters more than it doesn't, and sometimes it doesn't matter as much as it did, and that's not a straight line. It goes back and forth. So it's hard to explain what's true in this moment when 5 seconds from now or 5 seconds ago it was different. And pain is beyond my weakness. Yours is greater. Okay, so the one uppedness of assholes is one of my pet peeves. Like I cannot even, like I have a migraine. I had 16 migraines in 2 weeks, and yet shut the fuck up. We didn't get to you yet. All I said was one sentence. Give me a second, you know. And it's not that everything has to be about me. It's just that once you say something, and people are all like, well, if I'm all like, well, because I had a dual major in college and all this stuff, and people are all like, I went to Harvard. I'm like, well, oh, good for you. I wasn't done with my conversation because it was about what that was, and the question at hand has nothing to do where the fuck you went to school, so you can kiss my ass. More power to you. Great things, but not right now. And it really sucks when these people are supposed to care about you and they see you struggling with something. And just because I may be in constant, ridiculous amounts of pain does not mean that I get to poo-poo your pain, his pain, her pain, or anybody else's pain. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you break your ankle? Let me tell you about my busted tailbone, about the 3 things in my back, about the this, that, and the other thing, and the state of my unfortunate wrist. Because what the fuck? People are allowed to feel how they feel. That is what they are going through. And it's not for us to say, you're a wuss, because if I can deal with all this and still get shit done, then you're useless. What kind of an asshole does that? You want to know who? The people that are supposed to care about you, because that's usually where it comes from. Those and the people that really feel that they need to tell the universe all of their little accomplishments, because otherwise they have no substance at all. It's not okay. Don't be those people, because it sucks, And then you're left in this place. Mirrors lie. I see through the mask I painted on this morning before I left, because it makes you small. It makes you invisible. Their dismissiveness. It's not that it always lands on making you believe that you're worthy of being dismissed. It's just, it's futile. It's useless. It's exhausting. Why bother? You don't care anyway. I'm just going to shut up. It is what it is. And that's not okay either. Because here's the thing, people will fight tooth and nail and very, very loudly to make somebody else feel small, to make them feel less than, to make them feel crappy about themselves. But the people that make other people feel crappy about themselves are the crappy people, And I have not come across in real life a single instance of where that was not true. And it sucks. And you get tired, and then they, the thing is that they never do. And so where before it was, oh, I have a blister from wearing the heels you like, well, I walked 3 miles on a broken leg, as a one-uppedness, to now you can't say anything because you went quiet, and now you're like, ow. They're like, what? I was like, oh, paper cut. And they're like, you complain about everything and yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Because that's how that manipulation works. That's how that power struggle works. That's an unfortunate way to be. And then, fast forward 30 years, 20 years, and you're lost. Because everything that was good about you was crapped on, and you get tired of voicing opinions and wanting things and being shoved down and being made to feel stupid. And I have issues, apparently. I'm going to shut up. So Raconteur, your thoughts?
So the void that you're kind of describing is more or less where the who from. Sense of, our problems are our own, and at the end of the day, they maybe care about it, but as Pretty Bird had pointed out, that there's really nothing anybody can do about it. So it's up to us to deal with them however we try and deal with them. Even with understanding that there's no relief in that. It's like, so you get it, so just shrug your shoulders and be like, okay, where's that naked hug? That best you can hope for at that point, because you got issues, you got problems. So
the palace.
okay,
And
Yes, yes,
that's
yes.
unfortunate. And
It's
that's
not,
unfortunate because when the people that actually care about your like, and what else is new, that's not what love looks like.
yeah,
It's never what love looks like. That's intolerance. That's not acceptance. That is they expect difference. They're tired of all the things and they need to make you small so they feel bigger than they are because they're a whole lot of nothing. And that's horrible because it doesn't mean that we love them less. And I hate
yeah,
imbalanced emotional equations like that because they are fairly well normal on some level, not maybe to that extent, but 100% is you give 100 and I give 100, not 50-50. And it ebbs and flows sometimes because if you're going to make that 100, sometimes I feel like shit and I need you to do all the things. And sometimes you feel like shit and you need me to do all the things. And that's the beauty of it. But when there's one person who doesn't want to do anything
yeah.
to help the person that needs help, even be like, I miss that beautiful smile. How and so and because that shows that they noticed and they paid attention. That's a big fucking deal. It sounds like nothing. Maybe it should be nothing, but sometimes it's everything. And people just they're all entitled and just self-absorbed and freaking narcissistic and it's not okay because they pair themselves with people that are not that way because two narcissists cannot be in a proper relationship because then nobody's gonna get all the me, and each one of them needs all the me, because you can't be both me, and you. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous, and I hate that I know that these people that are all me would get a lot more substantial connection and attention if they were you with somebody that was also you. So they would feel seen and feel loved and feel understood and feel supported while the other people feel supported. And that's how you build a bond forever. Do people still turn ass 100%? Yes, because people are all imperfect. We are all fallible. And sometimes emotions just fucking suck because they're irrational by design. And sometimes, things are unpleasant and unkind because it happened. Nobody is the same exact person. So nobody's expecting perfection. But just don't be a fucking asshole for fuck's sake. And that's so hard for so many people to do, you know? And I know that on
Yes,
a lot of these shows,
it's,
it's all,
it's,
it sounds like
it's,
I'm all me.
for some people, asshole is the closest they're going to get to perfection.
Were those words?
Yes. There's-
Well, this is true. This is true. But that's a whole other show rack. I'm just saying. So
oh,
so I have Budo on the board. Sweet. You want to read for him?
Oh God, no. I've tried Budo.
It's
then
brevity.
Oh, let
sing
me.
for him then.
Oh, can I look at it first? Let's see.
It's literally two verses. It's a wonderful
Okay,
little brevity.
I will try Budo. I love him so much, and I love the way he writes. So let's give it a try. All right, Unspoken by Budo. Cherish that which is not spoken. Douse words when spat, of core not woken. Steed dwell deep, to bear simple truth, self-worth to keep, sown in blossoms proof, and peace.
So he is one of the kindest souls I've ever met in my entire life. He is quite a lovely person. And here's the thing, cherish that which is not spoken. Shut your pie hole. That's my translation. Douse words when spat of corn not woken. Here's the thing. Don't give credence to the bullshit. Don't wear that dress home. Don't wear it to prom. Don't put it on. It ain't your size. Instead delve deep into the bare simple truths and self worth. Keep your self worth and let it grow. So don't sweat the small stuff. People are assholes. Shut your pie hole. They'll show you your true colors. And he's not wrong. You learn more by letting somebody dig their own hole, by seeing how far they're going to go if you don't stop them. And it'll show you how much you mean to them, despite the love bombing and the begging and the men especially. From now until forever, unless we're talking any kind of bondage situation and your own rules, begging is unattractive. It's just unattractive. It's unattractive on a woman too. You could ask again, but there's no reason to beg again. And we will cover that on No, it's a complete sentence. And but they will talk until you stop them, until you react, until something happens to change that trajectory of conversation. They will dig their own hole. They will show you their complete gaping anus. And then we have to sit there and decide whether or not we want to wipe it clean or just leave him there in his own pile of shit that he just spewed, because sometimes people suck. Sometimes also, conversely, they are freaking amazing. And they are just absolute rock stars. Right before my mom passed, it always comes down to death for me. There was somebody that I was friends with on the internet, and there was nothing, whatever, I married a bunch of kids, he was married a bunch of kids, but there was nothing remotely attraction. It just y'all don't be gross. Such a lovely, lovely, lovely person. And it was right before they took the device out of my mom's heart. And we thought she was going to die like within the hour. And they wouldn't let us in the room while they were doing that. So I was in the waiting room all by myself. And I messaged them and I was like, I need a song. Will you sing me a song? Fully expecting nobody to sing me a song at 2:00 in the morning. They were driving down whatever that long high road, that long dark highway is between LA and freaking Nevada, pulled over into the dirt on the side of the road and sang Bridge Over Troubled Water as badly as I've ever heard it. And it was the most beautiful thing. It was exactly what I needed. And there wasn't a question. There wasn't a, can that wait? There was they knew that I had spent 11 days in the hospital and I needed a song. And they pulled over and they gave me a song. And it was beautiful. So people can be amazing for no reason, with no reward, just because that's who they are. So I know I talk a lot of shit about people that suck, because I know a lot of sucky people, but there are also, amazing people who have amazing moments, which is why it's very hard to discern, the trajectory of things when we want to believe all of those good things, even if they're few and far between. But human nature and to our own detriment and whatnot. It's unfortunate. Oh my goodness. I suppose I'm up next. All right then. I brought a bunch.
Can I comment on Budo's poem?
Oh yes, my bad. I just talked and shut everybody up. Go ahead.
I really like it because, actions do speak louder than words. And it just reminds me of, it's better to be presumed a fool than open your mouth and prove it. I just love that part of it. He always gives, that gentle, sweet push in the right direction. So he's just a great guy. Rack, your thoughts real quick.
I just can't help but point out that all the musical references that you made in your comment, Pretty Bird, probably unintentionally, I got Longfellow Serenading, Too Proud to Beg, and you mentioned Creedence. My mind went to Creedence Clearwater, and this the musician we're talking about, though, all that seemed relevant to me. I just, I appreciate Bud for who he is. And yes, ladies, he's single, and gentlemen as well, because he doesn't discriminate.
I don't know anything about of what you speak. Anywho, um, I think it's funny how a brevity is a soundtrack from the musician. I think it's fucking awesome. So this is Can't Get That Time Back, but I Still Can't Stop Talking by me, Pretty Bird. And it goes like this. Spilled my mind in a fever, and sadness covered the time I wasted on selfish introspection, and when it was up, you were gone. Momentarily, I'm sure. Broken fevers broke clouds and a faulty judgmental rant that I can't scrape off my mind with a putty knife. I can't seem to find among the whiz-bang widget doohickeys that fill space with gadgets, but I eat cereal with a fork so I can drink the milk, which is funny because I hate milk almost as much as I love you, which is almost as much as I hate the way I ramble when I'm nervous or in a fevered frenzy, sad enough to cover the time I wasted on me when I shared it with you. End poem.
Oh. Yeah. So I can drink the milk, which is funny because I hate milk almost as much as I love you. Oh, I love the frenzied, fevered frenzy, sad enough to cover the time I wasted on me when I shared it with you. Oh, this is fabulous. Because, I love that you say that you talk when you get nervous or you ramble when I get nervous. But there's just so much in here. Selfish time I wasted on selfish introspection, and when it was up, you were gone. It just sounds like and kind of like this. I don't know, and I know it's not at all what you were thinking, but in my brain, I just see the candles and in the room and me and all this, and it's just I don't know why I picture that because that's just not you, but oh, find yourself. But yeah, I momentarily have broken fevers, broke clouds, and faulty judgment, and then you just go whiz bang widget, do hookies with gadgets, and you eat cereal with a fork, and it's just kind of like rambling, and it's just so great. But the end where you're sad enough to cover the time I wasted on me when I shared it with you, and I'm like, no, I don't get that part because there's never any kind of wasted time on you. Maybe wasted time on him because he's gone. But once again, this is just fabulous writing, Pretty Bird writing, and it's just great. But my favorite line in here is I eat cereal with a fork so I can drink the milk, which is funny because I hate milk. Another great write, Pretty Bird. Very, fun to read and deep in thought. So, Rack, your thoughts?
So my internet was very unkind during the reading of this, but I will point out the line that came through loud and clear, and I don't know if it's karma or whatever that did that, but your idea of quote unquote selfish introspection, the sarcasm in that gets lost on probably most readers. It feels to me because again, um, understanding oneself, understanding a situation is the basis for almost any relationship. You can't proceed without that understanding that you're talking about. So the fact that you're even spending time working on it, and then being resented for it, it speaks volumes and handle relationships. And again, your idea of truth and communication, all of that always comes through in what you write, and that's why I love reading you.
Much appreciated. So here's the story suite. The whole or in a fevered frenzy, sad enough to cover the time I wasted on me when I shared it with you. People, okay, so I'm the weirdo that if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. If you ask me how I
Yes,
am,
please.
and I know I'm in a mood, I will be like, "Are you sure you want to know?" And then if I am having an emotional epiphany, it can be a 4-hour conversation when I never took a breath and I never asked you a question, because you asked me a question, it takes that long to answer, or it's going to seem like 4 hours because the way I talk, it is what it is. But I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be a lengthy conversation, that there was a finite amount of time, because I was not warned that, hey, I've got, a couple of hours. And it was the last time I got to speak to this person ever. And I didn't realize it at the time. And they never complained, and they would never complain. But it will always feel like a waste of time, because I didn't get to have a real last conversation. I was too busy talking about my own shit because they asked me. And I don't need to talk about my shit. I know my shit, And I feel like I wasted the last bit of time that there was before I knew that was going to be the last bit of time. And it is what it is. And selfish introspection is in itself an oxymoron, because introspection is of course selfish. But yeah, there's a lot. I spend a lot of time in my own head. It is not a nice place. My brain hates me. So
Bird brain.
Yes, you are next, and this one does not have an audio. I will read it. But this is not you. This is me. Okay, here we go. Might be nice if I hit enter, because that helps. Let me just put it up here on all the live places. And you know what we didn't say during the I'll say it at the end. I don't give a crap at this point. Okay, so this is Pointless Lament by Raconteur, and it goes like this. My dreams of chasing rainbows through storm-laden skies now lie deteriorating behind ravaged eyes. I live in the shadows between the tick and the tock, that nagging feeling that strikes out of the blue, punctuated by the lump I get in my throat every time I think of you. At night, the heavens above mock me, attempting to replicate your gaze, only to remind me of the beauty that once set my heart ablaze. Seeking the best version of myself, my narrative becomes a whisper swallowed by a sigh, lost in a breeze as my life slowly passes me by. Mired in the delusion I could inspire love through word or deed, crushed by the realization there was never any hope I could succeed. End poem. It's not ever pointless until we stop trying, because there isn't enough time to notice it's pointless, because while we're trying, there's hope, and hope isn't pointless. And so my brain goes to, is it pointless because I gave up too soon? Would it have been different if I believed more? Or did I believe so long that I can't crawl out of my own ass, which is usually the case? But we can only take what we can take. And absence, dismissiveness, oversight, inconsistencies, and thoughtlessness. And all the little things, all the things that are overlooked and forgotten by them, that it adds up into mountains of nonsense that we have to then bear the weight of under broken bones, because sometimes it takes years. And seeking the best version of myself, my narrative becomes a whisper swallowed by a sigh, lost in a breeze as my life slowly passes me by. Now, for those who have listened to our show for the last year plus, you have heard me say this before, so I will say it again. The best version of ourselves. It is always presented as the absolute best you could ever be, who you were on that one day that you were that person you were proud of, that person who did all the right things, that got a lot accomplished, and all the things. That is your best version on your best day. That is not how we need to define ourselves, because it's untrue. That is not who we are. That is that one moment. Just like we can't be defined by our very worst action, our very worst day, our very worst moment, because that is also not who we are. We live somewhere in the middle. And having said that, for me, the best version of who we are, the best that we can do is a moment by moment assessment. Because we can be all great and fabulous, or we can be head up our ass, fully depressed. And sometimes we're lucky we get out of our bed to go to the bathroom to do our business. Sometimes, if we take a bath and we're so depressed that we haven't taken one in a long time, and I don't care, this is not about, being all, cleanly and whatnot. It's about depression. Depression does not bathe. And if you can get yourself in that tub and get yourself clean and change your clothes, and it's a big deal. And that is the best that you can do in that moment. Am I saying low?
Now I have to wash the
Well,
tub.
there is that. But that could also wait. Um, but it's not aim low. You always want to aim above what you think you can do, but not berate yourself for not doing all the things. You know what I mean? It's not, oh, I don't feel like it today. That's good enough. That is not the best you can do. That doesn't push you in any kind of way. That you don't do anything. Doing nothing is not the same as doing a little bit when that's all you can do, is all I'm saying. So yeah, mired in the delusion I could inspire love through word or deed. And here is the problem with that. Inspiring love through word or deed. If the seed of love is not there, it's not going to grow flowers. And I find that writing poetry for the people that I actually care about doesn't hit anywhere as hard as writing poetry to write the poetry and purge my shit, and other strangers read it and it hits them harder because they are open to all the things. They don't feel complicated feelings about words they're not sure they understand, because sometimes poetry is a bitch. And they think that there's some expected reaction, which sometimes there is, and then it becomes pressure. So it's never appreciated in the moment the way it is when somebody stumbles upon it and it touches them through their own experiences by some miracle magic of poetry. And that's where that inspiration is. But I think that Pepe Le Pew and all the cartoons that are like, here's the flowers, here's the chocolates, here's some love poetry, like this is what we're supposed to do, the romance novels, all the things. Most people aren't those people. Like, do I like flowers? Yes. Do I want 150? No, they're just gonna die, and then I'm the one that has to take care of them. And then the water stinks if I don't change it out, and then I'm the one that has to cut them under. It's a lot of work, So I'm a jewelry gal, if anybody who wants to know. But it's hard to inspire love in a place where somebody already gave up, which is what this sounds like to me. It sounds like it was there. There was affection, and now there's distance. And maybe if I do the things and say the things, they'll remember why they loved me once. But once there's distance and that feeling isn't um and it doesn't feel
Reciprocated.
temporary, chances it's not even that. It's there's a difference between a growing distance and having somebody, oh, that is down the street, and that was very, very loud, and somebody just being done. And it's equally quiet, but it feels different, even if we don't want to admit it. So yeah, that is wonderfully deep. So Sweet Pea, your thoughts?
I I I honed in on that last stanza too. I could inspire love through word or deed, crushed by the realization there was never any hope I could succeed, because you just can't. Um, Unless that spark's already there, there's no words of sweetness, there's no words of anything that's going to persuade someone that just doesn't have it in them.
Sweetness, huh?
Yeah, there you go. Um, it's just not there. Um, your heart can be ablaze, and theirs is stone cold. And there is a lot of wishing in one hand and something else in another hand, and that's all there is. And I really, like the beginning part of this, chasing rainbows through storm-laden skies, now lie deteriorating behind ravaged eyes. It's just such a powerful poem where you've got to kind of let it go. Because I also love the line, I live in the shadows between the tick and the talk. Because, if we're not living in the shadows of time, what are we living in? Because time is everyone's enemy. So there's a lot of really fabulous lines in this track. Great, right?
And you're
Thank
up,
you.
Spade.
I am up. All right. Okay, this is Finally Silence by Sweet Pea. Letters become words, words become sentences, sentences become conversations, conversations become redundance, redundancy becomes the normal, normal becomes the boring, boring becomes the lonely, lonely becomes pain, pain becomes anger, anger becomes words, words become chaos, sentences become rage, conversations become useless, redundancy is not the same, words become mumbled, sentences are shortened, conversations drip to cold silence, finally silence. Now listen, I have something to say. And poem.
This reminds me of content with the warmth of a body. You know, it shouldn't be this hard to talk to people. And the um, the chronology of this, you start talking, and then it is the same old, and then that's not exciting, and then why bother, and then why am I here, with the loneliness becomes pain, and then it's all your damn fault, and then things are just everywhere, and people sling all their emotional shit on each other, and then it's all under your breath, and grunts and not talking, and now it's time to talk. But in the loneliness and the boring, there is also silence. In those moments in between the conversations, those painful moments, it's also silence. So I take that finally silence is when the other party finally shuts the fuck up, and maybe they will give you a minute to say some words. And to me, at the end of all of this, it's pretty much, oh, goodbye. Glad you heard that. But I see down here in your author's notes, it says, I shut up, so please talk to me. And here's the thing. That's not how you talk to somebody. That's how people talk at you. And a lot of people are okay talking at somebody. I mean, without any expected actual conversation. There are so many people that just want to hear, oh, you're great. Oh, of course you're fine. Oh, yes, I love you. Uh-huh. You're right. You're right. Yes, yes, yes. That anything other than that, they take as a personal attack. And how do you talk to people like that? Because they're like, you're so disagreeable, and you always have to have things your own way. And I don't even know why I bother talking to you. And I thought that you were supposed to, you'll love me. All the bullshit that they say. It's almost like I can hear that on the blank part of the page. You know what I mean? As it progresses, because people will read the words and fill in their own experiences in whatever this brings forth. And we've all had conversations, whether they are people that we cared about us, or don't care about at all. We've all had conversations that feel like some part of this. So it's very, very relatable. So Raconteur, your thoughts?
Oh man. I don't know what to do with you half the time. And the other half, what I want to do is not for public consumption.
And my mind
But
goes back to phallus.
yeah. Uh, uh, is that in Arizona? No. Anyway, um, yeah, I derailed myself this time. Look at that. Uh, again, I'm a little. Yeah. So, sorry, sweet.
You're so bad.
OMG.
You have no
Okay,
idea.
so I'm going to put up one more since we don't have that hard 2-hour time limit. It's F-bombs incoming. You have been warned. So if you're going to be offended, this is not the right show for you to begin with. I'm just saying. This is I Am Fucked by me, Pretty Bird. I am fucked. And not in a
Oh,
clawing flesh or body, convulsing, banging headboard kind of way. That kind of fucked I can rock the shit out of. No, I'm more the twisted mess of forced misconception, enlightened by time, innocence forgot, forced into a life guided by trust and the lies truth told. Yeah, it's the end of life as I know it. That's the kind of fucked I am. I knew joy. It was based on trust in what was true. I knew love. It was built on that same foundation. So, yes, I am fucked. This mess of shit crumbling to pebbles while blinding me in the dust of my own ignorance is anything but blissful. And all I hear are the cries of beautiful dying. Not that dying is beautiful, though it can be, but of the death of beautiful things, of things I found implicitly lovely, the painful dying of all I believed was good. I am so fucked sideways, protected by others. I can no longer say for certain who I am or who I believe myself to be. Fucked hard and unrecognizable, raped into truth by the kindness of others. No more questions, because I'm fucked that way too. No one wants to hear their old news and dirty laundry. I knew love once. Now all I love, I question, reliving my choices and reasons why, trying to piece together my life had I always known, trying to define how I love by my own definitions and not by what I knew love to be, because that love never existed, only in my shitty, shattered memory. So hey, guess what? I used to love you. Now it's tainted with yesterday's shit streaks, and I'm still me, but boy, am I fucked. End poem.
Oh my God. Oh, I just want to say that I cannot imagine me not thinking this. I don't know how many times in my life that you know what? Oh, but I have to say the very first stanza in this is just written beautiful. I'm not in a claw fleshing, body convulsing, banging headboard kind of way. That kind of fucked I can rock the shit out. Absolutely fabulous. Oh my God, that was great. That just big old smiling giggles there. Um, Enlightened by time, innocent forgot, forced into of a life guided by trust in the lies truth told. Ah, yeah. I knew joy. It was based on trust in what was true. I knew love. It was built on the same foundation. Yeah. And there's just so much truth in here that it does come out and kind of bite you and kind of hang on, shred you. Protected by others, I can no longer say for certain who I am or who I believe myself believed. Fucked hard and unrecognizable, raped into truth by the kindness of others. Raped into truth. There is such a harshness in that. I mean, for I can't even really comprehend how hardcore that line is. Because to say you're raped into truth by the kindness, it's such a dichotomy. It blows my freaking mind. Um, no more questions because I am fucked that way too. No one wants to hear their old news and dirty laundry. So it's like, yeah, okay, I could unfuck myself, but who really wants to hear anything about what I have to say or my old dirty laundry or anything that might, ease whatever pain I have. So screw you all. Or actually, I've been screwed. Trying to get together my life, I've always known, trying to define how I love by my own definitions and not by what I knew love to be, because that love never existed, only in my shitty, shattered memory. Now it's tainted with yesterday's shit streaks. Just the rawness, the pure, you know, anger is so tangible. You can just feel it. You can feel it in your own gut. You know you've had some of these feelings towards people, and you just kind of, I don't know, it's palatable, and it's just such a great right. And I think everyone's been there, and you just express it so well. Raconteur, your thoughts?
There's a lot of reasons to love this piece. There's realization, above all else in this, that just comes screaming through. The idea of what you're in the middle of, and what you're discovering, and the you know the the, the shit streaks. I almost hear the aside, and sweetie, can you comes through. So yeah, the state of being that you're in, and again, use of the word, the word choice, it's not just screwed, fucked, and yeah, this is a beautiful piece. That's all I could say.
It's funny because people will tell you the truth about people that you care about in ways that are undeniable. And then in that same conversation, that same breath, they're like, yeah, now that you can't tell anybody. And now you have to live with pretending that they are who they are when they are no longer who they are. But you can't all of a sudden unlove these people, and you don't know where to put any of this because everything is wrong and nobody wants to talk about it. Now, that's not a normal situation. I get that, but it is shitty is what it is. So what do you do when you're partially raised by somebody who is about as evil can get, but they let you love them anyway, and then expected you to sit with that, with all of the bad things, and be like, but you can't say anything. So then you have to pretend to love them exactly the same, when now you're torn between who you know them to be and who they were to you. It's a shitty fucking situation. It is a shitty fucking situation. So yeah, all kinds of fucked. Anyway, on that note, we are going to our closing whatchamacallit. So what again is coming up on Thursday, sweet?
Thursday night is our the myths of who you calling old. Yeah, we're gonna make fun of some of the stereotypes about old people. We're gonna have a good time with that. And unfortunately, because they switched the format on me, I can't find crap. But I know that's what we're going to talk about. Just kind of making fun of those kind of stereotypes, and age is not synonymous. Synonymous. I can't even talk anymore. And with giving up on things, so we're just going to have fun busting those myths about being old.
Okay, and on Tuesday is no is a complete sentence. And then the following week is people watching, and I guess that's it. No is a complete sentence and people watching. That's what's coming up next week because I can count. All right, so we are live every Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube, X/Twitter, and Facebook. So you can find us there. Just type in Pretty Sweet, PRTTYSWEET, all one word. And you can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And just again, type that right in there. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places. Just click on those red shoes and follow us to 300 plus hours of us talking shit. So like, follow, share, leave your opinions on our opinions, click all the hearts and show us some love. I'm thinking that's it. My brain just completely fried. So we're live every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, and we had a wonderful time tonight, and we hope that you did too. However, if you did not, you can
Fuck.
fuck all the way
All
off.
the way off.
Absolutely. Good night, everyone.